welcome. It is UK Cowboys TV, Season 1, Episode number 54. Today, we have the 5D show. So we'll get to that in a moment. We've got my Welsh brother with me today, Richard, and my very close Scottish brother, Mr. Paul Stewart. And then, of course, we have MVP, if you like, of Hanging With The Boys and the Draft Show. We have straight live from America, the one and only Mr. Shannon Gross. How are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing great. Doing even better now that I'm getting to talk to you guys. How's it going?
And how is life at the moment in Dallas? How are things over there, just in general?
Things are good. They're starting to slowly open things back up. They've opened up restaurants. They're starting to open up hair salons. They're being really cautious with that. Supposedly, one person in, one person out. But I think it's kind of, who knows what the hell's going to work and what's not. We're from a football standpoint, we're still, working from home outside the facility. We'll see what happens with the season, but the NFL's kind of held the line that they're gonna have games. There's gonna be people there, so we'll see if that happens. So
yeah, I'm counting my money on it. Hopefully, I should.
Literally, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a plane ticket.
Oh well, don't talk to me about the plane ticket. Oh.
Well, talking of plane tickets, one thing we have found out over the last week is the NFL International Series, where they come to the UK, is completely cancelled. Done. So we won't get to see you over here this year then, Shannon. You won't be able to make that trip to London with us.
It was one of the best trips of my life, man. It's where I met Paul.
It
was a great trip. How many years ago was that, Paul?
6 years ago now.
Yeah,
6 years.
Yeah,
Long time, man.
That was right when I first moved over from, I guess I'd been doing our social media about 3 years, and it was before I was on any of the podcasts or any of the shows or anything. So I was just trying to figure out what my role was and what I was doing and all that stuff. And that was really the first, I guess, major road trip that I'd been on and realized, like, okay, this podcast stuff and these shows that we produce is actually a big deal. Like, people all around the world watch this stuff. Kind of cool to get out and see that from another country, of how, the stuff we put out, that people actually watch it. We think it's just us. We don't realize that people actually watch our stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Well, Shannon, I keep saying it. It's not just America's team; it's the world's team. This is true.
Yeah. I mean, when you actually think about it, like, because obviously with coverage, if you like, of American football sport, American sports even, shows like yourselves, podcasts, the team podcasts, they're, if anything, probably more important when it comes internationally, because there's so little, if you like, in what we get in comparison to what you get in America,
Yeah, for sure. And it's because it's kind of like being in the Dallas market. Like, there's so much Cowboy football talk, because you've got, 3 major sports radio stations, and you got a couple of small ones, and there's so much content available. The further you get outside of Dallas, the less there is. And those, digital shows and podcasts become more important, because, the further you get out, that's really all you can get. So
that's it. Yeah. And, you even have to hunt for it, over here. It's not just like it's in your face. You've got to specifically search for it over here, because it's so limited. I mean, we even used to have 105 The Fan over here, but we can't get it over here now.
Really?
Due to the restrictions with broadcasting.
Copyright law. Yeah, copyright law. Yeah. There is a way to get it, but I'm not going to talk about that on the show.
There's always a way.
But as I say, we're going this week on to the 5Ds. So what we'll look at this week, we've got, that's right. We'll look at, basically start from the top with the quarterback. So we'll look at Dalton, we look at the Dak, we look at the draft, we look at the depth, so the free agency moves, and finally we'll finish with your opinions on the schedule. So we'll let you off first, Shannon, with your impressions, first of all, with the Dalton signing. What do you make of it? I'm just going to throw you that at you, let you take away?
Did not see it coming. Had no idea it was going to happen. You know, if you follow Cowboys football, you know that they have not valued the backup quarterback position for several years now. Like, they don't spend money on kickers and they don't spend money on quarterbacks and backups, and that's bitten them in the ass a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I did not think, one, for all the kind of contract negotiations and everything they're doing with Dak, I didn't think they would bring a high-profile quarterback in, one, just because it would start the controversy talk or whatever, or is Dak the guy? Is he not the guy? Why are they bringing such – because they haven't done – I mean, probably Mark Sanchez and Matt Castle were your two highest-profile backups they've had in the last, 6, 7, 8 years maybe?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, there was Kyle as well.
Kyle Orton.
Yeah.
True. But I mean, they just hadn't really put a lot of money, one, and hadn't really brought a lot of, a high profile guy in. But I love it. I've always liked Andy Dalton. I think he's been an underrated quarterback since he's been in the league. For God's sake, he's been in Cincinnati, so he hasn't had a lot to work.
Yeah, it's not exactly had a lot to work with a really broken down offensive line. An owner is not willing to spend the money on other players, pretty much. Yeah. So, yeah. I think this is a good scenario. But if I'm being honest, I generally thought Dalton would have ended up in the Patriots or something like that. That's what I kind of had, because we all know what Bill Belichick's like. He gets these random players for absolutely nothing, pretty much, like from free agency or like a small trade, and ends up becoming like a Super Bowl winner. And that's what I kind of thought. But no, we ended up getting him. What the hell?
I mean, I don't know what you think, Shan. Do you think perhaps a bit of, I know it's bad to say, but do you think perhaps a bit of what's going on in America, with the virus and what have you, did that play perhaps in Cowboys' favor in getting Andy Dalton because he is a Texas guy?
I don't think so. I think he probably, I mean, he's an established guy. There's plenty of film on him. You know what you're getting. And I think probably just, it may have played into him wanting to come back home.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Towards the end of his career, come back to Texas and play. I don't know if what's going on in the world with all the COVID stuff had anything to do with it, but I know for a Cowboys perspective, it makes a lot of sense. You don't know what's going on with Dak. You would like to think that they get all this contract stuff worked out and that, they sign a long-term deal and they get him in here, but you never know. We saw that with Zeke. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what his agent's telling him. You don't know what's going on. So I think it was a great cushion if something goes wrong with those talks. Yeah. Honestly, it gave them some leverage back. They had zero leverage in the Dak negotiation deal. Dak kind of had him over a barrel where he was like, I've got all the leverage. Now they got a little bit of leverage back. Now they can be like, you know what? We got a guy we can go drive the bus for the first few weeks of the season if we need to. That's a pretty damn good quarterback. He's probably, in that 15 to 20 range of quarterbacks. He could go somewhere and start. So
just to add on top of that, Shannon, it's like Dalton's never had the offensive line he ever had before. He's never had a full set of wide receivers ever before. He's never had the running back he's ever had before. Well, maybe Joe Mixon, but Joe Mixon is no Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
So this to him is like, if he was to be a star, this would be a dream scenario for him. He can actually play to his potential if he was to kind of come in and start for those first couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, how long's Mixon been in the league now? 3 years?
3 seasons now.
3 seasons. So that's really the length of time he's really had a decent running back.
But even still, they're still not Cincinnati. They're just absolutely trash.
Sorry, UK Bengals. Sorry, UK.
I'm not sorry. I'll say what I want.
But I mean, just before we move on to the Dak news, if you like, because that was almost segued. Just because we haven't had your take, Rich, since you've been on. Have you got a take on the Dalton signing at all?
Pretty much exactly the same as the guys I said previously. It's pretty straightforward. It's a good quality backup. It's been massively undervalued in the past. We've got you guys one reason or another in multiple different ways. We have someone like Shannon said, they can drive the bus and keep things ticking over. And I've spent mocking my brother for being a Bengals fan and things in place and build around Dalton properly. Now he's coming to a situation where he's got stuff around him, so he has a chance to be part of the quality. We obviously don't know. He's only got a 1-year deal in a minute, but we got to just enjoy it while it lasts, as with a couple of things last year. So, but I'm massively excited by it. Like you said, everyone was expecting him to go to Belichick and the Patriots. Oh, what are you talking about? Dallas? What? No.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shocker.
Now you have someone who's good. Yeah, no one. Well,
actually, you keep cutting out, mate.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You got a bit of a dodgy signal. But I tell you what we'll do is we got your take there, but we'll move on to Dak. Now, I don't know. Maybe Shannon, you can raise some light on this. And we posted it on our page that the recent news is he's been offered a $175 million contract over 5 years, 106 guaranteed. Is that what the news is breaking in Dallas? Is somewhere in that ballpark, or is there any validity in that?
Yeah, is that the 5-year deal that you're talking about?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Mike Fisher, that works for 105.3 The Fan, the flagship station for us, he tweeted over the weekend that everybody kind of speculated that that's what it was. Everybody kind of thought that the sticking point was the 5 years. Supposedly Dak's camp wants 4. Cowboys wanted to give him 5, and when it comes to my opinion's changed on this since I started really working in football. I used to always side with the teams and think the players were greedy, and after being around a football team and seeing what these guys do and what they put their bodies through and their minds through, and not knowing, you've got, if you think about it, you've got, what's the average life of a career of an NFL player? Like 3 years, right at 3 years. 3
if
years
you're lucky.
Yeah. So what these guys do, and they're really treated like a commodity. If you don't perform, you're gone, and you might be gone tomorrow. So go get your money. Even if it's in the millions and millions of dollars, you have very short window to earn all the money you can get. So I never, ever get mad at a player for wanting money. All the money these teams make off these TV contracts are because of the individual players themselves, and I say go get your money. I'm not mad at Dak for holding out now. 4 years, 5 years, the word was from Mike Fisher he would be the highest paid football player ever if he took the 5-year deal. I get it from his point of view, though. Hey, I want to do a 4-year deal because I want to get paid twice. I don't want to get just paid once.
Yeah.
So I think if you're the Cowboys, I just think you got to get it done. Just get a deal done. I don't know what the sticking points are. If this is your guy, and you've been saying this is your guy for 2 years now, make him your guy. Whatever that is, go make him your guy if that's where you're putting your – now, if he's not, okay, great. Let's shift gears and let's look at the draft. Let's get Andy Dalton in here for a year, play the season out, and let's focus on getting another few, long-term quarterback in here. But you're telling us this is your guy. Show it. Go make this your guy.
Yeah, just to add on top of it, see for a fan's perspective, where I know I'm getting more increasingly frustrated the fact that it's not been sorted out yet.
Yeah.
Because they're saying, like you said there, Shannon, it's like Dak's our guy. We've been seeing it for 2 years. It's like, well, if he, like you said, if he's your guy, sign him, give him his demands. Just do it. Like, if it involves taking a bit of a hit on the salary cap, I suppose that's probably the only thing that's stopping them, probably, in a way. Like,
what's y'all's opinion on Dak? What's because over here it's kind of, I think
I love Dak. Dak.
Yeah, I'm a Dak lover.
I've always been a Dak fan. When we were in the draft, right? I actually had going through the draft reports back in 2016. It was 2016. I had Dak as one of as a third rounder quarterback we could probably pick up. But the fact that we got him in the fourth round, I was quite excited about that. But I knew he'd be more of a development player. But the fact that how he's turned that around, he became a starter. out of 5 seasons, not 4 seasons. Now most of them are winning records, and one's like an 8-8.
And like you can't forget the only reason, because he was great in Mississippi State. The only reason he dropped down was because of a DUI. That's the only reason we got him.
Yeah.
Because there was a DUI on his record, and things like that tend to bring your stock down.
I know just that the stats don't lie. Like I know, like it's a team game, but Dak's producing out there in the field. Either you like him or you don't like him, he's still putting the effort out there every single game out there.
Yeah.
I know what it is more than anything. It's the quarterback position. And I think of any sport, when you look at certain positions of any sport, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is always under the microscope for me anyway, looking from being on the outside looking in. That when you say quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you're like, well, that's one of the main positions in that sport of any team,
I've seen one argument and I couldn't help but laugh. And it's like someone's like, Dak's so trash, he's not won a Super Bowl. I'm like, well, neither's Dan Marino. What's your point?
Exactly.
Dan Marino is regarded as one of the best quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl. Right? And he still holds so many records in that, and Dolphin fans still adoring that. What, I mean, Tony Romo's not even won a Super Bowl. He's regarded as one of the best Cowboys of all time as well. But when Tony was still playing, he had his 50% of haters, 50% of big fans as well. It just seems to be our team. Like either like him or you don't.
Yeah, it's the position of the team. Yeah.
Same with Aitman back in the 90s. People didn't really like Aitman at first in the first couple of seasons.
They wanted to trade him.
I wanted to trade him, and what happened? We ended up winning Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, the argument is he don't win a Super Bowl. Every year there's 31 other quarterbacks that don't win a Super Bowl. So do they all the next year need to be like traded? Do you know what I mean? But I mean, in the UK, I think it's a bit, we call it Marmite. You either love him or hate him. There is a bit of that still over here, which I tend to find that happens as well in America. I don't know if that's still the case, or if perhaps because money's going up, the level of people now that are liking him are going down. Maybe a lot of it always revolves around money, I think.
Here's the thing to remember as though, mate, it's like Dax actually took a hell of a less paycheck than most players in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he's produced the most. He deserves his payday, regardless. Regardless. So, pay the man. He's a QB. Pay the man.
Shannon's sitting there and he's like, all I asked you is if you guys like him.
Yeah. The short answer, yes.
Yeah, we like it.
He's okay.
I mean, it's not. It's the dual ability. I think with Dak that's so appealing. Especially when you look, and we'll get to the draft in a second. What they've done, the RPO game now that can open up because of what they've done in the draft and free agency, I think plays directly into Dak's strengths. But if you want to move on to the draft, since you've quenched that rumor as being that it's true, let's start then, Shannon. What grade would you give the draft? We've all given it an A.
Yeah, I would give it. Well, let's talk about this again in November.
Yeah.
Because I think we all, we didn't see Taco Charlton not being able to get on the field. We didn't see Tristan not being able to get on the field last year. So I would like to think that CeeDee Lamb is going to be on the field the majority of the snaps on offense. But, hey, we'll see. But as far as just first initial thoughts, I think, A is a totally fair grade. A minus, A plus, however you want to do it. I think this is on paper, without the guy stepping on the field. Yeah, I think this is probably one of the best drafts that they've had in recent memory.
We were saying this in the show a couple of weeks ago, saying that this is probably the best draft since Dak and Zeke in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think.
Go on, sorry, Shannon. No. Go on.
I was going to say, I think probably the most encouraging thing or one of the most exciting things is we've heard we heard all off season when we've gotten to talk to these coaches and everything is we're going to put the best guys on the field. We're not going to try to make guys that we want the talent on the field. We're not going to try to make people fit a system. If you're the most talented guy, we're going to figure out a way to use you. We're going to play into your strengths and not hey, he's not a stand-up end. He's a down lineman. He's this. We want the talent on the field, and I think you've heard that all off season, and then you went into this draft, and you know they needed defensive line help. You know they needed secondary help. You know they should have gone defense. But when you got a guy that was number 7 on your board, and he falls to you at 17, you got to take him. You got to take him. And they haven't done that in the past. They've drafted for need and not for talent. And I think you've heard them all off season say, we want talent, we want talent. And every round they kept doing that. A guy would fall to them, and they would get him. And whether they needed that position or not, so I think you're seeing Mike McCarthy put his stamp on this draft. And I think, all these people that say, well, Jerry runs the team and the coach is just a puppet. I don't think so, man. I think they all have an equal saying in that room. And I think this was just a reaffirming that, hey, this is Mike McCarthy's team. Now, obviously, Jerry owns the team, and the final say-so is going to be him and Steven. But they all have a say, and I think this draft reflected that, they're going to put the most talented people out there, and that's what they did in the draft.
Just to kind of add on top of that, obviously the guys in the podcast, they knew what my initial reaction was when we did draft CD Lamb. I wasn't too thrilled at first, but looking back, and needless, I'm quite excited about it. Like, considering what we actually did in the later rounds. Yeah. Like I would say we did so much better in the later rounds. Yeah. Like Brad in the fifth round, Bradley and A. My God, how did we get him? He was supposed to be gone in the second round.
Yeah.
And obviously my boy from OU, bloody Neville Gallimore. I still can't believe we got him.
But one of the things I actually heard was that Neville Gallimore was higher on their board than Trayvon Diggs. But they wanted Diggs because of the cornerback situation. But then, just goes to show, though, right, how they have nerves of steel, if this is true. I don't know if you heard this story, Shan, but that Gallimore was supposed to be higher on the board, but they still didn't trade up. They waited, and he came all the way back round, and they didn't trade up, and they still took him. So it goes to show that the draft philosophy, how differently has changed. Definitely McCarthy's having say in it, I agree.
Yeah, and I think you got some nasty players, too, and I think this team needs some nasty guys. Like CD Lamb, he doesn't play nice. Like he'll go get you. He'll go block you. He'll lock up with you, And your guy and I think he's nasty.
Oh man, he is nasty. He's just so quick hands as a defensive lineman.
And I think I did a podcast last week with Darren Woodson and Nate Newton. And Darren brought up the thing. He was like, you know what? He's like, I was a nice guy. He was like, I was really a nice guy. And Nate was like, you were. And he goes, but we would have never won a Super Bowl with 50 plus nice guys. He goes, we needed some dogs. We needed Charles Haley. We needed Nate Newton. We needed Eric Williams. We needed Larry Allen. We needed dogs. Yeah. And you can't have a locker room full of nice guys. So I like that you drafted and you got some attitude and you got some guys that are going to be chippy. Because you know what? I love it when Lyle Collins gets nasty. When an offensive line gets nasty, I like it. So let's bring some nastiness to the wide receiver position. Let's bring some nastiness to the defensive line. Let's go. I'm ready.
So, I mean, one of the ones that have cropped up, so over here in the UK anyway, that people have asked me about is quite a regular question, and I just post the same scouting report for him, but I don't think it really gives much emphasis on the type of player he is. But one of the ones people ask me about regularly is Reggie Robinson. Now, I always say, look, if you want to know the type of player he is, type in on Google NCAA stats and look at pass deflections, and he's like 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's all you need to know. But where do you see Reggie Robinson playing? Is he going to be a slot guy? Do you think he could even possibly shift to that safety hybrid position? Or do you reckon he's going to be an outside corner?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be everything is going to be really interesting because you got Anthony Brown coming back, which his arrow was pointing straight up after his first season, and then he's had some injuries he's dealt with, and he's kind of disappeared a little bit. You hear nothing but great things about Jordan Lewis, and he's our pet cat on Hanging With The Boys. We all love him and can't figure out why can't he get on the field? Because when he's on the field, he's around the ball. He makes plays. Like, we love the guy, but I don't know if it was a system thing, if he wasn't if behind closed doors, if he's not doing what the coaches were asking him, like, why can't he get on the field? So I think, going back to what they've said, the coaches have said, we want the best players on the field. And I think, I think they may, Cheeto, is it possible they look at him as a safe, rotating in at safety and use some of Robinson and some of these other guys at corners? I know they like physical guys. I know they like, rangy guys, but also they want the best guys on the field. So I think your secondary is going to be really interesting on, how they use, Jeff Heath's gone. How does, Xavier Woods, does he make that next progression, and is he lock himself in as safety, or is that going to be kind of a, everybody gets 30 snaps and we rotate you guys in, or how? I think it's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out. And I think, it's going to be when and if training camp happens, there's going to be some real battles, because one thing I think happened, under the old coaching staff was, you got on the field because of other things than your play sometimes. Yeah. And I think with this new coaching staff is, if you don't do the right thing and you're not playing your responsibility, you're not going to be on the field. At least that's what they've told us, is know your role, play your role. And if you don't do the right thing, then you're not going to play. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's an all out competition. Even Dak and Andy Dalton, I think that's a competition. I think Dak's your starter, but I think it's competition, man.
It's exactly what I said when we first signed him. Because if there's one thing, and this is no disrespect to Cooper Rush, he wasn't exactly bringing enough to kind of compete with that, to kind of like push each other. Like,
yeah, I agree.
But having Dalton there, that would definitely elevate Dak's capabilities even more. Like, he'll push himself even harder now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Lights of fire under his ass, basically.
Yeah, and it's quite funny as well. You mentioned Jordan Lewis, because I mean, like, how many times do we mention him on this show? Every week we'd be like, who's going to be our player to look out for? And every week we'd be like, Jordan Lewis. And like, there was the game where he won us. It was against the Eagles. Where
Agree.
Cry, Eagles cry.
I don't think he drafted the guy. Did you pick him in the second round? Wasn't he a second round pick?
Lewis?
No. He was later than that.
Yeah, he was fourth or fifth.
Yeah. Day 3.
Cheeto was second round. He was the Drew Pearson pick.
That's right. Yeah, he was.
I agree. I don't see why. One thing I'm really happy about so far, from obviously it went how it went. We took the players we took, and people felt it was amazing. It was a bit fairy tale. The one thing I really, really liked behind the scenes is they were saying all through they wanted talent, and they weren't gonna just draft the need. They wanted talent. It was the whole best player available, and then they went and took who they took. And they had, they held out, they had the balls of steel, hoping people would fall to them. Yeah, a bit of what they need, but also they wanted the best quality guys at the best position available.
Yep.
They stuck to their word, and I'm hoping now, with them saying that they can play the best, basically the best player will play, I'm hoping the hell Jordan Lewis is going to see some play time, because like, whenever he's on the field, he's always on the ball and he makes plays, and it's ridiculous how he's just not been utilized more. There is a definite feeling of things have changed, and things that have come out on social media, some from players, some from other people, how maybe different under McCarthy and the other coaches. I just can't wait for this. When it does, obviously it's a big wait. I just want to see more Jordan making out and making people pay. Really do.
But you still keep cutting out, mate. Unfortunately, only catch the tail end of that.
Damn it.
We did get a bit of that, mate.
Yeah, we
but
did get a
you
bit.
were cutting
But we
out.
got-
We'll hear it on the show, but we can't
Yep.
hear it. It's all right though. We'll move on from the draft now, and we will look at depth. So if I start with you again, Shannon, what I mean depth is free agency moves. So obviously it's not just the guys we picked up, also the guys we retained. So I think the most important, that like I know we talked about defensive line, but the one thing I think people keep missing, I don't know if you feel about this, which was quite important, is the linebackers we retained. So Sean Lee, Joe Thomas, and Justin March. For you, is there any particular move that they made during free agency that really put a tick or a thumbs up, if you like, in your box?
I think the best move they made for the linebacking core is by signing Poe and Gerald McCoy, because we saw what happened to him in the Rams game when you don't have big bodies to eat up those offensive linemen, and those offensive linemen can get to the second level and get on linebackers like Jalen and Leighton. They move very well side to side, but whenever they get a big body on them, they can't shed those blockers, and we just got destroyed, in the run game. So I think the best move they made was by signing some guys that can eat up some space, some big bodies in there, some guys that you can rotate, and you go into the fourth quarter with these guys. This offense, there is no reason why this offense shouldn't score 30 to 35 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can go into the fourth quarter with a rested defensive line, whenever somebody's coming from behind and you know that they're passing on 3 out of 4 downs, and you just pin your ears back and you go, and you've got Tank, and you've got hopefully a healthy Tyrone Crawford that's, had a full year to rest. Hopefully we've seen what he can do when he's healthy. He's the guy that's always one half step from getting 13 sacks a year, but he's always disrupting. He's there.
I love
so
Tyler.
now you
Absolutely love him, man.
So you get some guys in that rotation now. Antoine Woods, I know that's your guy, Paul. I love that
That's
guy
my
too.
guy.
Human log.
He's not
Human log.
He's not a 60, 70 snap guy, but if you can keep him around 30, 35, keep him rested, he can destroy some offensive linemen. He can get some penetration. So I think those signings of those two guys, I'm really excited about. We'll see how he does in the secondary. I'm pretty excited to see him get on the field.
That was going to be a guy I was going to ask you about, was
Yeah, he's a playmaking type guy. I don't think he's been that way for the last couple of years, but hopefully in this system with these coaches, he can be that guy that you've wanted back there in the secondary, being a ball hawk type guy. One free agent thing that I really hated when it happened, and now I'm okay with it, was them letting Randall Cobb go. I thought he really stepped in and took up the slack for Beasley. But you know what? CeeDee Lamb, he can play the slot. He can move outside. Guess what? This coaching staff, I think you're going to see some stuff. I think they're going to see how talented Tony Pollard is too. And they're going to move him outside. They're going to get him mismatched on some linebackers, get him out in space. So Randall Cobb, I really hated to see him go, but the kind of money he got, you couldn't sign him. Just like Robert Quinn, you couldn't sign him for that kind of money.
Yeah.
So with them picking up CD, I feel a lot better about Randall Cobb being let go. But I think the big signings are Gerald McCoy and Dontari Poe.
Yeah.
I think the most surprising one was obviously Alden Smith as well. He's not played a snap in a couple of years, and we're giving him a chance. So, but when he did play for the Raiders and 49ers, he was a force, absolute force to be reckoned with.
For the 49ers.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. But I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's funny you mentioned Alden Smith. I mean, that was going to be is literally on my list of free agency. So Alden Smith met with Goodell, as far as we're aware, last week. Have you got any news on that and Randy Gregory at all, Shannon?
Haven't heard anything. Just what you guys have heard that they met. They met. Haven't heard anything about it. So I guess we'll see as it gets closer to training camp.
Yeah, totally with you. Do you think it's going to be something that goes through? What's your general feeling on it?
I have no idea. I don't know what goes on in those meetings. I hope the guy gets another shot because, like you said, he's a beast. And if you can get him on the field, even 20 snaps a game, that's just another guy that keeps everybody fresh. And if I've seen some of his workout videos in the off season.
Yeah.
You're talking about a specimen, man. That's a load. That's
yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's absolutely jacked to the heavens.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, that he is just like he's a human muscle car, isn't he? And the other one, then I was gonna talk to you about. You did touch on as well. Was the kicking in the kicking side of things. Greg the Leg, but they've still, as far as I'm aware, Kai Forbath is still on the roster. Is that correct? Or have I got that wrong?
I don't remember if they signed him did they sign him to a 1-year deal?
It was a 1-year deal, I think.
Yeah, I think he's up for contract. But I haven't heard of anyone else working him out or signing him or anything like that. I could be wrong, but I would expect if no one picks him up that he, there you go, competition again, right? You've got
that's right, yeah.
Zerline, you've got Forbath. I mean, Forbath didn't miss a kick, did he?
No, he didn't miss one. No,
he didn't.
Yeah, didn't miss a kick. So I mean, if you can get him on another 1-year deal just to get an extra leg in camp and bring him in, I say, if it's a cheap enough deal, bring him in. Let's compete.
Yeah. And then the last one, a couple of things I put on there then was like the re-signing the likes of like Joe Looney, LP. As well, LP. I don't think he's ever going to retire, is he? Or go
no.
Like what is he on now? Like his 15th season with the Cowboys?
16th.
16th. Yeah. It was him and Jason Witten, and now Witt's gone. So it's now LP's the old man on the team.
Yeah. Well, funny you mentioned Jason Witten because obviously one of the don't worry, one of the positions. That was almost it was like one of them touch and goes in the draft was tight end, but they took on Blake Jarwin's contract and they've retained him. Do you think he's going to be a guy that can fill those shoes? I know Jason Witten's got massive shoes to fill, but I mean in terms of talent, what he can bring to that offense, especially when you look at what they've done, as you say, with CeeDee Lamb in the draft. Do you think there's going to be a lot of 11 personnel going on?
Look, Blake Jarwin is in the same boat to me as Jordan Lewis. Why did we not see him play more? I think we know why.
Yeah.
I think everybody wanted to see him on the field, but you had a guy in Jason Witten that you're not going to tell Jason Witten to have a seat, right? As long as he's on that team, and he's not the kind of guy that's going to say, "Yeah, I'll take 40% of the snaps." If he's on your team, he's going to be out there. You're going to have to steal his helmet for him not to go out on the field.
Literally, yeah.
So So I think I'm excited about Blake Jarwin. I for 2 years I wanted to see what he can do because every time he gets on the field, things happen. I think we'll see. Now we'll see. I'm not saying he has the talent of Travis Kelce, but I think you've got an offensive-minded coach in Mike McCarthy that can use him in ways and get him open and get him in some one-on-one matchups with smaller guys that I would not be surprised if he has 1,200 yards this season. Like that would not surprise me at all. You heard it here first.
1,200 yards.
Yeah, but you can't forget.
Right.
So you got 1,200 from him. You got 1,000 from CD. You got 1,000 from Amari, and you're getting 1,000 from Gallup. We're throwing for 6,000 yards a game this year.
I'm trying to add all the numbers here to give off a dark.
So we got three 1,000-yard receivers and a
1,200 yard tight end. Now I don't think it'll be 1,200 yards, but I think
that for 5,000 then.
And here's the problem. Here's the problem you're going to have this year. There are going to be so many weapons on this offense that there are going to be games where guys disappear. But you know what? this guy disappears, this guy's going to have a 150-yard game. This guy disappears, this guy's going to have a 200-yard.
Yep.
You can't double team all these weapons. And I think Blake Jarwin, blocking, he's a little iffy on the blocking side. If he can get that down, I think he's one of the best. He has the potential to be one of the best tight ends in the league.
Yeah, I mean, like the big difference I think between Blake and Jason Witten is Jason Witten could play in a phone booth, where Blake Jarwin is your typical move tight end. You nailed it right on. He is your complete typical move tight, and you've seen it against the Giants. Was it the Giants with the triple touchdown?
Yeah, and in New York,
yeah, and you look at every single one; it was downfield.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that brings us to depth. So now we'll go to the 50, the schedule. So yeah, number 5, high five. Now I don't know what you made of the schedule. I actually stayed up because there's just so little sports at the moment. I did actually stay up to watch the schedule release. I know that's really sad.
You got issues, man. If you stayed up, what time was it? 2
It was on at 1 a.m. Yeah.
To watch the schedule release.
Yeah. I was excited.
So I can get my Airbnb booked.
Yeah. I had a tub of toffee popcorn and rocket fuel coffee, and I had one of them, and I sat up and I watched it, and I was texting a mate from America.
Awesome.
I'm just so happy. I am just so happy we're not home opener against the Giants.
The Giants? Yep.
I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, but I got some bad news on the opener, right? As we were just talking about the schedule release. So I'll ask you in a moment, Shannon, what you think about the opening game at the Rams. The bad news is, for us in the UK, it's a 1:20 in the morning kickoff for the first game.
Oh, that's brutal. So that means no sleep going to work the next day, right?
Oh, yeah. We do.
I'll still be going to work, but hopefully I should be there in America, hopefully.
We do like post-game shows. You know Jamie, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We done post-game shows the season just gone, which is like the day after, and we done one, and it was like after like a 1 o'clock. It was after a Monday night football game. It was just basically just us staring into the camera for half an hour. Like,
well, that's okay because nobody can understand what the hell Jamie's saying anyway. So
yes, I am tagging him in that. Shannon said he cannot understand Jamie. I love it.
Especially at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I'm sure he was into the beers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jamie loves his drink. He loves his drink, Jamie.
That's brilliant. I love it. But yeah, what do you make, Shannon, of opening up in LA's brand new shiny stadium? What do you make of that then?
I figured it was going to happen, to be honest with you. I knew it was either going to be the Giants or the Rams, because of Jerry's instrumental part of helping Kroenke get that stadium and get that team in LA. It's been no secret that he was helpful in getting the franchise there, because they have a history. So who would not want to open up your home stadium against anybody? It's Patriots or Cowboys or who you want to come draw the biggest crowd. We're huge. We have a huge following in California. Anytime we play out there, it's probably at least 50-50 in the stands.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Massive Cowboys.
Yeah.
Massive.
So, I mean, we got that West Coast swing this year. We're playing the NFC, the West.
West Coast.
Original West Coast. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't surprised by it. I like it. It's always fun to go to California. It's always fun to play up in Seattle, which we get to do both of those this year. Seattle's one of my favorite stadiums and atmospheres to go play in. So opening up in LA, I'm pumped to see that stadium and pumped to get another shot at the Rams. And right out of the gate, you get to test yourself. Okay, this is either we got to improve here or, hey, we're legit. So you'll know right out of the gate, because you never know in our division. You don't know what the Giants are till about halfway through the season. You never know what the Eagles are. You never know what the Redskins are until halfway through. the Rams, they're going to be a solid team. They're going to be in the hunt for a playoff spot. So you get to test that right out of the gate and see what kind of progress you've made in the offseason.
Definitely. And when you look as well with the Rams D line as well, that's a good way to start off your season testing that O line, because when you look at the division with the D lines we got to face against. Yeah. One thing though that did pop out straight away to me when I looked at the schedule is just looking at the teams we have in December though. We've got the 49ers, the Eagles, and the Giants. They're going to be some cold weather games. Do you think that's going to affect how they go about their business for the season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing on the schedule that jumped out to me was that. But I like the fact that you get a bye week in week 10.
Yeah.
You're gonna be coming off of a five game preseason with the Hall of Fame game that we're playing in. If who knows what preseason is going to look like, but if you play all 5 of those games, you're going straight from 5 games, and then you play the next 9 games. So you've got 14 games without a break. But it comes after it's going to be a really physical game against Pittsburgh, so you're going to get beat up there. Yep. You get your bye week, you play, and then you get another 10-day stretch after that, I believe, if I'm right, with the Thursday night game. Is that right?
After Steelers, Vikings, then Redskins, which are on a Thursday night, and then it's Thursday.
So play the Redskins on Thanksgiving, and then you'll get basically 10 breaks. So you'll get really kind of 2 bye weeks almost.
Yes.
So I think it comes at a really good time at the end of the season where you get a couple of weeks within that 3 or 4 week period where you get to rest up, and it gets you ready for that playoff push. Because I guarantee you it's not going to be Cowboys football if the last 3 games of the season we aren't fighting tooth and nail with the Eagles for the wild card or the division spot. So I think, yes, there are going to be some hard games. There's going to be some cold weather games where they're going to get the hell beat out of them. Yeah. Going up to Baltimore, that's going to be a tough physical game in the cold.
I'd say that's going to be the hardest game of the year.
Yeah. Baltimore are on fire, and they drafted really well as well.
Very well.
Yep. Yeah. So, but I like it. I like where the bye falls. I like how the Thanksgiving Day and then the game after that, and you get that 10-day stretch. I like how that falls. So I'm not mad about it at all. I asked Nate and Jesse Holly on our show this week if they liked how the bye week fell. Was it too late? Was it too early? And they both agreed that it was just about in the perfect spot how the schedule lays out. So no complaints.
Yeah, I like any bye week after week 8.
Yeah.
The players would enjoy it, especially. That means they've got more time to recover for the later part of that season as well. It's like you said, Shannon, it's like the perfect time where to have your bye week.
Yeah.
And just to ensure that your players are going to be well refueled, ready to go. Any players that do have any niggles, they'll be back to pretty much getting ready back on the field where it comes to going over again for the second half of the season. They're getting to make that playoff run. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
After you've just played Pittsburgh as well, like Sam said, you're going to get beat up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
I'm still going to say this. I think we're going to absolutely destroy Pittsburgh.
Depends.
I think
depends.
I really do.
It depends who's on their roster, because there's
the
a lot. Yeah. There's a lot floating. There's a lot on the line there. We don't know what's going on there. That's why that's my wild card. That's my only one where I've got a question mark, because you don't know what the roster's going to look like. Plus, you don't know what sort of Juju Smith you're going to get this year either. Yeah,
Pittsburgh's going to be interesting this year because you don't know who the quarterback is. There's a lot of question marks on the roster. They're one of those teams that could contend, or they're one of those teams that could just completely blow it up and start rebuilding.
I find that's the thing. That's what I was just about to say. I think they're one of the teams that's going to go through a rebuilding phase now because they didn't draft a lot. They didn't have a first rounder. They didn't do anything pretty much besides getting TJ Watt's brother Derek, the fullback, on through free agency. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, but you know what? Pittsburgh is one of those teams that they never rebuild. They're always a 9-10 win team. Like even in down years, they're in the conversation. They're always, not one of these teams that, they don't ever have a dip where there's a season where they win 4 or 6 games. They're always, right around that 10 win mark. So it'll be interesting this year.
It's the Mike Tomlin way,
Yeah.
It's just very typical of how he does business. Even like when you look at when Lev Bell was going on, you think, oh, what's he going to do? He did nothing. He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just stand on the field and block the plays myself.
Right. I'll just go tackle that
guy. But yeah, I mean, they were the sort of things that were popping up on me in the schedule. I always tend to look towards the end of the year to see who the cold weather games are playing. But one thing I did want to ask you is, because I know you're friends with Dave Hellman, how excited is he to go watch them play the Bengals this year?
Let me ask you this. Do you think Dave Hellman gets excited about anything?
Except LSU.
LSU and Florida shirts. I mean, come on, let's go. I mean, no.
LSU and Labradors.
True. I have not talked to Dave about going up there, or actually they come here, right? They're at home.
Bengals it's at Bengals.
We're there. That's right. We have Cleveland. The other Ohio team comes home. Yeah, Cleveland.
Yes. Yeah.
So he will be excited, and I'm sure he will, sit in awe with his jaw wide open. And Joey Burrow marches the Bengals down the field. But yeah, I'm sure Dave is going to be pretty fired up, after he got to witness that national championship in New Orleans in person. So I'm sure he'll be fired up.
Yeah, we was talking to him and all of that was going on, and the messages were a bit garbled, as you can imagine. Brian Broadus went radio silent. Brian Broadus just sent a smile, and then that was it for about a month.
Hey, that's whenever you're in New Orleans and your team's playing in the national championship, you should probably put the social media down. Just don't, because nothing good's going to come of it, because you're going to be hammered.
Yeah, as soon as you hit Bourbon Street, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
But how do you think Hellman will react if they don't do that well and he all of a sudden starts getting lit up and sacked a lot and getting stuck in the ground? Do you think he's going to cry, or is he just going to be sat there like, like really mixed feelings about the whole thing?
I don't think he's that big of an NFL fan. I think his love and he's a real big college fan. Yeah, so he's kind of indifferent. He's kind of a Saints fan. He's kind of a Cowboys fan. He followed anybody that went to LSU. He follows them in the league. Like, I think he's kind of indifferent when it comes to. Now, if you're talking about Mariners baseball, he's going to get really excited and emotional. But when it comes to the NFL, I think he's worked in the business for so long that he doesn't get real excited or real upset when anything happens. So he'll probably take it in stride. He'll be all right. If not, I'll give him a little hug and before we get on the bus. And
you'll have to tell him that you were talking to us because we've had Hellman on the show as well. He said something. Yeah, he said something very similar. He's always said, like Cowboys is his job, where LSU is his passion.
Yeah.
And you get that vibe from him when you hear him talking and reading his work. But you'll have to remind him about the Jaeger bombs. We talked about that on this show, and he was like, "Don't ever bring that back up again." A man his size cannot drink that much alcohol.
For me and Shannon, it's the fireball.
Oh, the fireball.
Yeah, got some in the fridge.
Oh, what?
Memories.
May have to pull it out and get on that Call of Duty and Fireball train this weekend, Paul.
Let's do it.
I've still got to send you that beer up as well, by the way, Paul. I know. I know. I'm sorry about that. Sorry. I'll send it up to you. We got Welsh beer, and I was meant to send Paul one up, and I'll have to send you one over as well, Shan. It's called SA. The SA stands for Skull Attack.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That sounds dangerous.
It is quite potent. It's quite Yeah. I'll get you your address and send it.
Hey, Paul, how does it compare to Buckfast?
Oh, Buckfast is
Oh.
the daddy.
No, Buckfast is royal. I'm not touching that stuff ever again.
You know what? Honestly, this is the best news I've heard all week, and this is obviously not Cowboys related. The Buckfast factory reopened as of yesterday, so you can see the excitement in my face when that happened.
Everything's fine in Scotland, basically.
Yeah, we have in fact.
The whole of Scotland was in praise, saying, "Hallelujah! We finally got tonic wine again."
we've
So
done a show once. Do you remember? And you were drinking Buckfast. Me, you, and
Probably.
Jamie were drinking, and you were on the back, and I could see the Buckfast label, and I was thinking, "Oh no, here we go." But we have like completely gone off track here, so I'm going to try and bring things back to Cowboys.
Sorry.
But the only thing I was going to say on the schedule is, what have you got? What's your predictions on win-loss record, right, Shan? And I tell you what I'll do. Because we did this last week. We'll just give you, what is your over and your under on the season?
Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Like, I haven't gotten that far down in the weeds. Why don't I come back on the show before the season, once we get through a little bit of preseason and we see how these position battles are going, and let me get a little bit better feel for the team, and then I'll come back on. If you'll have me back on.
Of course.
What do you think? Do you think we are? Of course we can have you back. We're drinking, buddy.
We'll have him back on.
I don't want to throw out I just don't want to willy-nilly it and just say, this is what I think. Let me get a feel for the team, and then we'll come back on and I'll give you an educated guess. By the way, I am absolute crap at predicting our season schedule. I had us at 11 wins last year, so.
Here's the question. What about Mama Gross's prediction?
That's the important. I'll get Mama Gross's prediction too, and I'll let you know both. So let's do that.
Right, I'm actually quite boring. I'm very Nate Newton. If you said what are they going to be for the season, I always say 16-0.
16-0.
Yeah.
And you know what? I always say 8-8. 8-8 till you prove me wrong. Like, 4 out of the last 5 years we've been 8-8. But we got a new coach. We got a new coach in town, so I'm willing to wipe the slate clean and maybe not predict 8-8 this year.
Mike, I completely forgot what my prediction was. What was my prediction? Have you got it written down?
I think you had 10 wins. I think you had 10 wins.
10-6. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Pretty sure.
What were y'all's predictions?
I was 16-0.
16-0.
Seriously, I was 16-0. But Rich wasn't on that show. We had a different member on. But what have you got? Have you got a prediction for us, Rich?
12-4.
Wow. Okay.
12-4. I really think this season's just going to be outscore everyone as much as possible, and then defense is going to make some plays. I think we're going to be up there. 12-4.
I like it.
Bad for a start for the Mike McCarthy.
Oh, fingers crossed to that, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, there you go. If you ever speak to Nate Newton and he's saying that he's like that, say, no, I know somebody else who's exactly the same. And then when you do it, you can remind him about the hat Paul put on Nate as well.
Oh, God.
Oh, that was amazing.
Brilliant. But, I mean, yeah, we went off tangent there, but we managed to bring it back slightly, but now it's just got the train's completely left Insane Bill. So I think we'll probably leave it there, and we've taken up an hour of your time.
I just want to say something else. I just want to congratulate Shannon for about to be become a dad as well.
Oh yeah, thanks, Paul. Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
When's the baby due again?
September 1st, just in time for football season. So 2020, the season of no sleep. So
well, it's gonna happen with that with isolation and lockdowns. To be fair.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's best news. Best news. Honestly, mate, congratulations.
I was born in September as well, so September babies.
I like it.
Yeah. Do you know if it's going to be a boy or a girl, or are you keeping that card close to your chest?
It's a boy. We're having a little boy.
It's a boy.
Yeah. Dodge the bullet.
Got any names? Got any names in the bag?
We've got a pretty solid name. We're not saying it publicly yet, but we've got there's not a whole lot that goes good with the last name Gross. So we've got one that kind of flows a little bit. So we'll release that at some point. But yeah, we got I think we got the name nailed down.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
It's not Paul, by the way. Sorry to disappoint.
Damn it.
I reckon it should be Mike then. I did have a name, but if I say it, you'll just be like, but I'm not even going to bother.
What is it? Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, well, what about Net?
What?
Net, N-E-T.
N-E-T?
Net Gross. Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, there you go.
Stop it. Just stop. You're right. Stop it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
See, what it was is I was going off. You said nothing goes with gross, so I was just trying to think what goes with it.
That's true.
That's all I did. I just used that.
So bad.
I know it's gone right off the rails here, isn't it?
The fact that Richard's left.
I know. That's actually cool, doesn't it? But yes, that's all we got for this week. So I've got to give a quick shout out to our sponsor as well, Cowboys Experience. Make sure if you go to watch a game, you book it with Cowboys Experience. Use the booking code UK Cowboys as well to get your discount gift. But from myself, from Rich, who's already gone, from Paul, and our MVP of the show, Shannon Gross, thank you very much for joining me, mate, or joining us. And we'll definitely get you back on again. That is it from this week's UK Cowboys. Make sure to follow us. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, Spotify, all the rest of it. But yes, thank you very much, Shannon. We'll see you again, my friend.
You bet. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
La, 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 la.